up, Laura?
Welcome, everyone, to He Said, She Said, episode 7?
Yeah, we're probably going to have to just at this point drop the episodes because now we're
Yeah,
going to get confused.
yeah, forget the episode numbers. We're back, we're here, and we're changing gears. We're changing gears hardcore from, 50 Shades and dating to,
Yes.
yeah, to co-parenting. Radical shift. So, great topic. You had this idea last week. You wanted to shift to co-parenting, which in my universe was a very good time. And after thinking about it, I know it might be a little broad, but I think we should talk about control as it relates to co-parenting. And as you so aptly put it when we had a conversation, when do we fall on the sword, and when do we give in? How do you make that decision? Because it can be tricky.
No matter what your post-divorce situation is, whether you're dating, single, married, whatever, if you're if you have children, you deal with the co-parenting dilemma.
Yes.
And that dilemma is really this. What happens at my house with the kids is one thing, it's one way. What happens at her house, or in your case, his house with the kids, is another. I have no control over what she does there. She has no control over what I do here. That recipe alone is a Molotov cocktail just waiting to catch fire.
At the time of my divorce, I actually have a somewhat unique situation in that it started out immediately post-divorce much more amicable than it has ended up to be. So where some people go from really bad into kind of settling in over time, I've had the opposite circumstance. And part of that is that my expectation and understanding when we got divorced was that we would be, in the tradition of the word, co-parenting, and we would be jointly deciding all kinds of things. But as time went on and as other people entered the picture and our lives as, a man and a woman now not coupled, moved on, our co-parenting relationship changed. And what I learned is that we now, and this really was driven by my ex-husband, we really parallel parent, which is what you were just describing, which is I hear all the time, what happens is in my house will be determined by me, and what happens at your house will be determined by you, and that's it.
Right, right.
And that was a very hard nut for me. It was. I'll admit it.
Now, because you expected you and him to have consensus on everything that went on with the kids?
I think because my view of being a mother in my life was that it does. I used to hear myself saying it all the time. It doesn't matter where my children are. They can be here or they can be there, but they're mine.
I think that you hit on something that all women, divorced mothers, deal with. Okay? All right. I experience it, and I consider myself a decent father. I mean, my kids were 9 months and 2.5 when we got divorced, and they've never had to go to the ER under my watch. They're still living and doing quite fine, and they have no brain problems or head injuries or anything like that. However, even today, even after all of this time, there is still that tendency, and I'm not throwing under the bus, it's just a fact, and I've got text to prove it, that that she can do it better. I'm just going to say it that way.
Okay.
Whether it's because she's a mom or anything, I'm not putting it solely on her. I'm talking about in the general idea of the father-mother dynamic. I think it's universal that moms just parent better, right? Let's just face it. I mean, look at the ads, Laura. I mean, every ad with regards to parenting, it's never about the guy, and if it is, it's in some sort of tongue-in-cheek style. So the thing that, as a father, the thing that I found so challenging, all right, was that I couldn't do it at all. Okay, fine. So I got you can send them over to my house all these times. It's arranged time, but yet at the same time, you want to make sure that I'm parenting based on some sort of pre-described idea of what you've got. But yet when they're at your house, I have no say, right? So I think a lot of men, and I know a lot of men have dealt with that problem, maybe in different ways, and some much more severe than others. And sometimes I have the same situation, all right? I can't sit here and admit that at times I haven't wanted to control what's going on over there. At the back of my mind, and I think this is something that all of us as parents have to deal with, is that at the end of the day, this is nothing more than control and pride. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Our feelings get hurt when our kids are doing something at our ex's house, right? And they're doing it a certain way, and maybe we don't agree with it. We feel like the odd person out. Our feelings get hurt, and our pride gets hurt, and we want to control the situation. We have to learn to figure out what's a big deal to actually bring up, and some stuff, you got to be like a duck.
You guys, if you dudes out there could just step back and have a little compassion that it's so hard for us to walk away from being a mother on those nights or weekends or whenever it is that we turn our babies over. And that's what it feels like. It feels like turning our babies over to someone, not that you're strangers, because you're not, but we didn't expect not to be making all of their lunches every single day, from birth to, 18. And on the same token, I think talking to the women out there, we have to trust that you guys, know what you're doing. And it's just going to be perhaps different than the way we would do it.
At the end of the day, if the father is doing it what he's doing isn't illegal. What he's doing is not hurting her kids, and she knows that. She just doesn't like it, or he just doesn't like it. No one wins. No one. Him, her, the kids don't win if all you do is bring up every single nuance that you don't agree with their parenting style. You just don't win, because what'll happen is you'll end up going, and I'm not saying this is what happened in yours, but you'll end up going from a bad situation and making it worse, because all there'll be now is animosity between you and the other person all the time.
And we can all walk around thinking we're big shots and we know what the hell we're doing, and that this is a point that is worthy of arguing, right?
Sure.
We'll walk around. This is the point that is worthy of defending. The truth of the matter is, and I learned it this way because I see it in my own kids' eyes. I see it in their eyes, over these 8 years. All they want is for he and I to respect each other as parents.
Right.
That's all that they want. And it is really, listen, I thought I knew far more than I know, and I tried my best, but I, like everyone else, get sucked into it sometimes, that reacting instead of responding, when we really can't marginalize the other parent. We can't marginalize our exes.
Really, next month I'll have been doing this co-parenting thing for, to your point, 8 years. I've gotten it down to a system versus this responded versus reacting thing, and this is really how I do it. All right. First and foremost, I have to understand what pushes my buttons and what doesn't in the beginning. All right.
Yes.
You've got to know those things. You've got to know where your hot spots are.
Yeah.
All right. Something goes down. And normally we find out about these things after the fact. They happen, right, and then the kids come back and then they tell us and all hell breaks loose.
Right.
Normally this is what I do. So the kids tell me something that's gone down. I never react in front of them. Ever. I never get been out of shape. I'm just like, okay, really? I just I remain calm. I don't all of a sudden start flying off the handle. All right. Secondly, I don't do anything immediately. The worst thing you can do is as soon as you find out, even if you're remaining calm in front of the kids, is run to the telephone, go fire off an email, start blaring text. That's going to win nothing for you. All right? If you can, at least give it a couple of hours. All right? At least 2 hours just to marinate it for a moment. It's already happened anyway. All right? Nothing worse is going to happen now.
Right.
Preferably, wait till the next morning. Chances are that when you sleep on it the next morning, you will find that what you thought was earth-shattering really isn't that big of a deal. And at that point, you can make the decision to let it go or not.
I love that because what I call that, and when I talk to women, I always say no sudden movements, nothing, no sudden movements. You got to have a 24-hour. I push for 24 hours. I mean, 2 hours is good, 24 even better. No sudden movements, exactly as you're saying, nothing.
90% of the situations are not going to be as bad as you thought, and you will save and live to fight another day, and you won't fall on the sword, which is what I'm talking about. Am I willing to fall on the sword? Am I willing to lay it all out on the line and jeopardize the relationship that I have with the co-parent already and make it potentially worse over this issue? Because you're going to make it worse.
Yep.
You can't fly off on the handle, call her, you're the worst mother in the world. How could you have expected this to happen? And then turn around tomorrow and expect everything to be okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And there is nothing that hurts more to the core of who we are as creatures, us women, as to have someone threaten our competency as a mother. It's like it's worse than saying you're fat. Seriously, it is. It's worse than coming right out and saying you got fat. You look fat.
Right.
And it's bad. It's such a vulnerable thing, and it's we make a whole story about it, and I get that, and this is not mom bashing or woman bashing. I really, because I get it, but it is so much at the core of who we are.
Parenting for young, and I'm gonna call children if they're living under your roof. That's what I'm deeming as parenting here. I'm not talking about adults. Yeah. Parenting is only for a season, and it's for a very short season. All right. Perfect example is yourself. You've been divorced 8 years, right? You've got a kid, you've got a son that after this year will be in college, who's effectively, your job is pretty much done. Did it seem like 8 years ago when he was only 10, right? That 8-year stretch happened just like that, right? And then it's done. And then for the rest of your life and the rest of that child's life, they are going to use what they experienced during that season of being with mom and dad as the basis for the rest of their life.
Absolutely.
If we can't set our pride aside and our control aside for that short of a season, knowing full well that at the end of the day, only this bickering and this criticism, only thing it does is makes it worse for them, then we're hopeless.
Mm-hmm.
We're hopeless because when people say, divorce is all about the children, this is what they're talking about. Putting your differences aside. Your ego, your pride, your hurt aside, sucking it up and saying, you know what, I am going to let this slide. She just sent me an email calling me the worst father in the world. She reacted. I can respond to that. I can either let it go, knowing full well that it's simply her emotions going off on a tangent and let it go, or I can get all puffed up and fire something back and then make it worse.
Yep.
All right? That happened. That is a real life situation that happens every single day in co-parenting households across
You've really said it eloquently, which is the back and forth, the tension and the conflict is so far worse than the staying up past 9:30 that it becomes, we have to be adults, right? We have to be adults. We got divorced, and that's okay. That doesn't make us crazy teenagers, crazy, we need to still step up and be adults. And And I think that somehow there seems to sometimes be this acceptance of really bad parenting behavior, um, that we feel that we're entitled to because we're in this divorce, thing with this guy or this woman, and it's not fair and it's
I
not
guess for
justified.
the men, I would say this, sleep on it. When you get that phone call, sleep on it. When you get that email, sleep on it. When you get that text, you know what? Let it slide, all right? If it's not a safety and security issue, and it's
Right.
not jeopardizing their health, and it's not jeopardizing their future, okay? 99% of it, it's no big deal. It's just no big deal. Your feelings are hurt. You need to let it go. Let it slide. I cannot tell you how much stuff I let slide.
Yeah.
I just don't respond. It still happens today. I get some email about something or whatever, and I just delete it. It serves no purpose. I don't win. The kids don't win.
Nobody wins.
Let it go. All
Nobody
right.
wins.
If it's a big enough issue, tomorrow when I'm calm, collected, I can call her up and say, "Let's talk about what happened yesterday."
Hmm.
That's all you can do. That's it. Otherwise, if you're gonna get all rock and roll on every single situation, you're gonna first off be a crappy parent because all you're gonna do is be bitter and angry constantly, and secondly, your kids are gonna know that. So that's all
They
I
know
got.
they know it anyway. They know everything. They're dogs. They sniff out and know everything. And to the and that would be my word in summary is no sudden movements. Just
I like that. That's good.
step back, step back for a second. And I don't think I will say this, I don't think we step into each other's shoes enough. I know it's hard to do that. I know, he cheated, she cheated. There's this one. Listen, my ex is remarried. I get it. I get all of it. But we do have to step back and just say, let's just step into their shoes just for a second. Just if we can, for a second, try to understand. And then try to resolve, try to figure out how to move forward from it.
Well, our hope is that this would have spurred some conversation, and if you find yourself in that situation right now, and you've listened to this or watched this, you're like, you know what? Let's see what happens. All right, take a deep breath. You can't control the situation anyway. This is the hand you've been dealt. Let's play it the best way possible for our kids. Put our pride to the side.
And you know what? Shoot us an email if you're having a situation and you're not sure how to handle it and you really feel it's justified. And you know what? We'll give you our thoughts. We'll let you know what our thoughts could be and help you kind of bring it down a notch.
Indeed. Laura, till next week.
Till next
See
week.
you. Bye.
Bye.